Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome, and thank you for joining me tonight. As I say, today is the 3rd of the 12th, 2020, which is a Thursday, as we talk about the latest and the top news of the week. I want to thank you so much for coming on to the Sylbourne show. And in review, so many things which are happening out there in this world. When I said recently that exciting things have happened, which is the breakthrough in the UK with the vaccine, persons believe I was applauding the move, but I said apparently. The apparent exciting news, that's a key word, the apparent exciting news, as you can see what is happening. And unfortunately, we have been talking a lot about COVID and vaccines and all of those things and test and trace for the past months. Unfortunately, we have to zero in onto that issue again today, because that is a major topic and that's a major thing of contention as well, even within the Black community in regards to the vaccination and the vaccine, which is going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me just bring in my guest tonight, which is David, and also bring in Keima in the first instance. And then while we wait for Keisha to come in somehow, I hope she's not standing in the line waiting for the vaccination or anything like that. Hi guys, how are you doing?
Good evening. I think
Hello.
she's been staying at home, so I think she's first in line. I think she's setting up camp in the tent. That's what I think's going on.
Well, everybody has been sending me information saying, especially from Jamaica, are you going to be are you in the queue? Are you in the queue now? Are you testing? Somebody even sent to me from the States, say, cuz, can you send me a sponsorship letter so I can come over there and actually get the vaccine and go back to the USA so we can beat them, you know? So that's been very interesting, which is happening. And that's why I said a while ago that the top discussions, if anything, we can't get away from it. Listen, guys, I'll be honest with you. I've been trying to say, let's find something else. Let's talk about the birds and the bees. But then you'll be going against the complete grain, isn't it, David?
Well, you like to go against the grain, so we can talk about the birds and the bees if you like. I don't mind doing that this evening.
Yeah.
But yeah, vaccines, I guess, is the flavor of the day. As you've announced there, really, the UK is the first country to sign up and to sort of display the vaccine in all its glory up and down the country. So I think first and foremost, I think it's a pat on the back for the scientists, for the persons involved in trying to bring this to fruition. It does go to show, however, that if the world's leaders, the world's minds get together to try and drive home something that is required for people, then we can work together across the world to try and get that objective or meet that objective. And that's what we've been talking about for the past 9 months or so. When are we going to get a vaccine? Are we going to get a vaccine? How is the vaccine going to be rolled out? All the questions that encompass this massive feat are slowly coming to a head.
Well, let me just bring in Keima a bit. Keisha, can you hear? Yeah. Keima, tell me, what's your thoughts on the latest?
Do you know what? It's exciting news. You could actually see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you want to put it that way. We could actually see that we're coming to an end. We're coming out of this pandemic. We're going to have a solution, and people are feeling very, very positive. In care homes, finally, you'll be able to see mothers who hasn't been able to see their children for a very long time. That will be able to happen pretty soon. So it's really exciting news for everybody in the United Kingdom, but also it's, it makes we send a really good global message, that being the first country to be rolling them out. And it's also, the plan is to do that as soon as next week. And there's a quite clear order of which it will be rolled out in terms of age group. We're starting with care homes and NHS and care workers and the elderly, 80 years old and 70 and 60. So there seems to be a very clear plan of how that is going to work. So, it's very exciting for everybody around.
Okay, before I go back to David, I will set the stage. You said it's exciting for everyone. Is that excitement in a positive level or just exciting because it's an exciting time? Whereby it's going to be some really resistance when it's going to go on as well.
I think, it's exciting because we've all had it to some degree, to some extent. Some people have it more, worse, have had it really. This pandemic has really, really caused a lot of distress for a lot of people. A lot of people have lost their jobs, not being able to see their family, not being able to travel, not being able to go places that they need to do, been isolating, So all of that, will change once, the vaccination's been rolled out and people are taking it. And so I think that's where the excitement for me comes from. At least we're beginning to see that we could soon go back to how things were. Things could go back to normal. You'll be able to go and see your family without having to worry about what tier you're in, with tier 2, tier 3, or whatever it is. And I think that's where, for me, the excitement comes from.
Okay, so I see where you're coming from. You're seeing like at least there's a breakthrough in some respect. Something is happening, and we're not in the same way. David, what's your take on that?
I think that the world over, we want out of this thing. Nobody wants to live with this for a prolonged, protracted period of time. We've known that the vaccination is one route to explore, to get out, and I don't think it's the only route, but I think it's one of the routes to get out. And so we can't come across this vaccination with anything but happiness, but joy. The fact that it is potentially going to be a route out from the protracted, the prolonged experience that we've had over the past sort of 9 to 10 months. So I can't see how people wouldn't really be excited by this. And I know the time.
Keisha, can you hear us?
Hello.
Okay.
So
Keisha?
one of them is working. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Turn off something there. Okay. We're getting Keisha from the front line. She's on the field and she's reporting to us. So she's gonna come back in after she's getting some feedback out there.
in the freezer with the vaccines.
You mean the minus 70 degrees? Yes.
That's why she probably is right now. I get it. That's why they got the echo.
Yes. So you're saying, David? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So essentially, what I'm saying is it's excitement. It's excitement because it's one of the routes out, as I say. It's one of the pathways for us to explore in regards to this this pandemic. And again, we've had this for 9 or 10 months now, and it is waxing and waning on people's experience of life. The ability not to be able to, as we touched on there, to see people who are loved ones in care homes, share experiences with new grandkids, or those kind of stories that I hear on a daily basis of people just not being able to connect in the same ways that they used to. So we can't but look at this as a positive step in that right direction.
Okay, let me just check something. Keisha, can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you live and direct. We understand that you're on the field. And you are now actually checking out.
You're on ground zero. You're in the freezer right now. Is that
are you in the freezer or in the field? Which one is it?
let's say I'm in the field then.
well, listen. Let me just invite. Okay, she has to go back in the field for a second. We come back to Keisha. Yes, David. Sorry, you're saying, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, so that's basically it. This excitement. It's exciting times, and we'll just see how this roll out to the wider public, and when it's rolled out to the wider public. This is one of 3 vaccines that are currently have currently had press releases as well. So it's that's for people to sort of understand and digest. And unfortunately, we don't have the batches and numbers available for everybody, and so it is going to be a staged sort of process. And the particular vaccine that we're talking about here, I keep gestating a little bit, but the particular vaccine does have to be stored at a particular temperature, so its life cycle is not going to be great. So we need to make sure we've got the plans in place to afford the use of it in the short space of time that's required, really.
Yeah. I was looking at the news, and in the news, one of the things it was talking about was the 9 tiers or the 9 levels of where the first level of persons that they're going to be putting this into, and I was looking at it, and it was very interesting. And I don't know if you guys had saw this sort of tier. It's talking about like those who are in the 80s, those who are in care homes, all the way down to those who are 50. 9 levels where they're going to start off the whole vaccine, and I was looking at it in a way whereby the interesting thing also in the media, and I just said it out, where you got the resistance. There's a resistance which is coming on, which is called the anti-vox, or the anti-people who are anti this thing. And then you're seeing also in the media, like black people also being shown taking the vaccine, or doctors saying this is a great thing, this is a game changer. Do you think that it is something whereby people are excited? I'm going to ask Keisha, do you think people are excited? Keima said an exciting time. Would you say it's an exciting time? We can hear you live and direct, yes? Mm-hmm.
I actually can't hear.
And I think I could hear. I can't hear her.
I can hear her. Oh, funnily, no, don't worry, Keisha. I can hear you. Keisha, can you hear me? No, you keep talking. No. We're only seeing you one. Take off the laptop completely off. Now, are you using your phone now or your laptop? Okay, I tell you what you do. Okay. I tell you what it is. Take your finger and put on the camera of the phone. No. You're on the laptop. Take your finger and put it on the laptop now. That's it. So you're on the laptop, yes? David, can you?
I can't hear a thing.
You can't hear. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm gonna suggest something. I tell you what you do, yeah? Come out of everything and just come in only on your phone. Okay? Okay, good. Right. As we were saying, David.
So we were talking about so you've lost me now. So I think we were talking about obviously the vaccine and degree of positivity, I guess. Now you talked about sort of the people and the characters who are talking about the vaccine, and yes, doctors are going to be championing it a bit for this particular course of action, because we know it's going to be really helpful in allowing us again as a form of exit strategy. Now, I think that the thing here is with any particular product or device that's being brought to the population, we need to look at the patients and people who are most at risk and most vulnerable, because shielding them, making sure that they are top of the sort of pile in regards to the treatment that's been advocated is key and essential. So we need to look at the target of people that who are susceptible to the condition in itself, and make sure that the product is safe and again effective. And the Pfizer vaccine has been proved to be shown to be effective in people who are vulnerable of all ages, and I think that's a degree of positivity. I think the second part of the question was related to the people who are being put in the sort of arena in regards to the take up of the vaccine, and I think that we need to be aware that the vaccine is for everybody. It's inclusive. We don't want to make this a vaccine just for the few and not for the many. So I think it is important to basically roll out plans to encourage people of all walks, shapes of life to say that this vaccine is available for them, and through whatever resource that we have. So I think it would be a bit foolhardy, so to speak, to not do that. And I think hopefully that answers your question.
Well, if I'm going to put something up on the screen now, and what you see on the screen now will be let's see if I can find it. Okay, let me see. I mean, there's sound in the background there. Okay, on the screen before you can see who will get the Pfizer vaccine first. It says residents in a care home for older adults and their carers. That is the first one. And the second one, it talks about everyone age 80 and over and frontline health and social care workers. Residents in a care home for older adults and their carers, everyone age 80 and over, frontline health and social workers. The big question now is this, and this is the big question. is how confident are we in this with this vaccine?
So I think the confidence is obviously judged by the governing bodies that would look at the data, look at the product itself, look at the ways that it's going to be employed in the nation, and broadly that boils down to the data boils down to safety and effectiveness. And in the UK, at least, I can speak for the UK. That's by the Medicines and Health MHRI. Essentially, they look at how effective and how safe a product is. And I think from their point of view, they've looked at the data and they're quite happy. And there's always going to be a first country to adopt this particular vaccine. So I think in that regard, they've answered the questions, they've looked at the information at hand, and they've made that justification that this vaccine is safe for the UK.
Now, Keisha, can you hear me?
I'm here. I'm hoping you can hear me this
time. Can hear you, Gladden. Can you guys hear her?
Yep.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. I'll just ask this question, and I've got the answer for the question already by someone on Instagram, which is saying, I can say no, it's not an exciting time, it's a scary time, Zine.
Yes, I'm glad that Zine picked up on that. I wouldn't agree necessarily that it's an exciting time. I think people are just very much exhausted and tired. It's almost a year that we've been going through this process, and we just want to see a way out. And the only way out appeared to be having to take a vaccine. So people are caught between, two minds. Should I take it? Should I not? Rightly so, in the sense that this is unprecedented, that vaccine is done in less than a year, and ready to roll out for everyone. And it's right that we're questioning things. At the same time, we want to get on with our life. We want to go back to what we used to know as a normal life. And I think because of that frustration, people are prepared to just take it to get back into work.
Right. Is it a situation whereby the government, I understand, is saying you're not forced to take the vaccine, but there's something else which is happening. The airlines are saying if you don't take the vaccine, you can't travel. The ticket master, I understand, was saying if you don't take the vaccine, you can't come to the events. All of a sudden, all of these little by rules are going to be coming into play, which is going to force a hand-up person to say, listen, I can't be bothered. And David, I don't know about you, but what people keep saying is that and from a medical perspective, you can say to me, how will you know in 5-6 years time? You don't know. Nobody don't know anything now, David, is it? Nobody knows anything now.
I think it's a fair point to ask that question about safety. But safety comes in many shapes and forms, and there's lots of medicines, there's lots of surgical procedures that will be novel and new and based on small amounts of data. But at the same time, we scrutinize that data. We learn more about a particular product the more that we use it, and we go forward. And I think that you've mentioned already, Keisha, that this is an unprecedented time. We all know that. That's one of the statements of sort of 2020. But we've also known that the vaccine would be one of a few choices in regards to how we navigate going forward effectively and getting out of this particular predicament. And so I would say that it's exciting because of the fact that it's one of the keys to the locks. There are many locks, but it's one of the keys, and we are where we are quite quickly. And I didn't think that we'd ever have a vaccine before the end of the year that would be utilized in the UK.
Okay. So what we're talking about, there's only one at this present moment which is ready, and they're talking about rolling it out next week.
Yeah, and I haven't heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, David, I haven't heard much about any risk associated with this vaccine.
No, sorry, I correct myself. There are risks with any particular vaccine, but the risks from this particular vaccine are in keeping with risks that we know that you would get from other vaccines. Namely, some of the risks that I've seen identified are pain at the site of injection, somewhat kind of a hangover that you may well get. For those people who do drink, they'll understand what that means. For those that don't, you can feel a bit rough and a bit under the weather. But those are reportable side effects with the medication. But in terms of side effects that are more serious, I don't think there's been very much that's been deemed from that point of view. And so, answering Michelle Quark, yes, I'm a medical doctor. I'm a surgeon, and so yeah, you're speaking to a doctor.
Okay, this is a big question, and this is a big question now. Who is ready to take the vaccine?
Well, I looked at the order, and I would be right at the bottom. So I suppose by then I should be able to make a decision to take it. Because I wouldn't be
Have we looked at the cost yet?
I wouldn't be in the top 10 set of people in the criteria, because of course the age and underlying conditions, all of that would put me way at the bottom. So by then I would have an indication of how well the vaccination is being effective or not. That's how I look at it.
Some people are prepared to go private.
You mean people who want to go private to get it quick?
To get it quicker instead of having to wait for the NHS to distribute it, and I'm sure that will come with a cost.
Okay. Well, let me just break through this bit here for a second and just sort of set the stage of all the different levels. There are different levels, and I'm not going to say devils. There are different levels. I mentioned about the top one, yeah, and the top one is resident in care home for older adults and their carers. So all of you guys are eliminated from that one. Everyone age 80 and over and frontline health and social care workers.
Oh, that's David.
So I'm in that. There you go.
You're in that, David. Okay.
You're in there.
Okay.
Tell us how it goes, David.
Okay. So people.
I'll drink a coffee at the same time, guys. Thank you.
Okay. There's a question coming from Instagram. People age 75 and over. Okay, so we're still there. Age 70 and over, those who are clinically extremely vulnerable. Age 65 and over, which is number 5. People age 16 to 64 with underlying health conditions. Age 60 and over. Age 55 and over. Shucks, I'm busted. Age 50 and over, number 9.
See, I'm not even in the top 10, so you guys will tell me how it goes, and then I'll make a decision after that.
But this criteria, isn't this an NHS criteria? Because I'm just thinking there's some people who are well prepared to go private to get this thing sorted.
I think the assumption there is that it will be made private. We don't know. We don't know in terms of the cost that's been afforded for the medication. We're not going to see that cost because it's obviously on the NHS. And so, I don't know. I can't sit here and say this will become a private entity and it's a business within itself. It may well do, just like the testing became a private entity. But I do know that within the NHS itself, the hierarchy you can see there, and I think it's justifiable. You look at the at-risk populations, and care people in care homes. We've seen the numbers are astronomical compared to some of the other groups that have been identified there. So I think it's right and it's just.
Okay, and I think
it's interesting.
This is a Pfizer vaccine, isn't it?
Sorry, I missed the question.
I'm saying that this is the Pfizer vaccine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, what I was going to say, David, it's quite interesting, with the throughout the pandemic, we've been hearing quite a lot of ethnic minorities, Black and Asian people are more susceptible. And
before you touch that one, I just want to pick up on the private thing. I just did a research. Can I pay to be vaccinated sooner? So that's a private one.
That's what I was hitting at. Yeah.
And I said, no, this vaccine is being rolled out to free to people via the NHS. You can't jump the queue by paying for it, but there should be plenty of vaccine to go around. So that was dealing with a bit about.
So it's going to be free for everybody.
It's going to be free. So that's why I thought.
Oh, that's good to know.
I thought Keisha was in the queue a while ago. That's why she.
I think she's taking it. I think Keisha's already taken it. She was in the queue and she took it, and that's why you heard that echo in the background.
Yeah. On that point about the issue with Black people, Michelle Clark said, no, I will not be taking it. And yes, David is a medical doctor. That is why he's giving his views, and he won't be fact checked. And Michelle Clark said, David is one of the first to get yes. Is that correct, David? You're the first.
He's the
I don't
second
think
in
I'll be.
line.
I think second there. I don't think
Second
first.
category.
And I'm more than happy to be fact checked.
And someone said on Instagram, and what happened when it doesn't work?
That's why you got to go to the first 9 categories first. Is that
Yeah.
I think unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depends on how you want to look at it. They're the I don't like the word guinea pigs, but they're the samples that'll be used ahead of everybody else.
Let's touch on the guinea pig factor there now, because that's a bit which is going around in circles, and I'm not afraid. In my walk this morning, I said people should not be afraid to critique, to criticize, and to question what goes in your body. All right, is that a fair statement? Do I need to be fact checked by that? I mean,
I
I'm
think
not
that's
a
a fair statement.
That's a fair statement.
Yeah.
So the question now is, Black people are hesitant and very cautious because of reasons from historical, which is there, and you can't blame us for that. And what is also concerning, what I saw of recent days, is when you had the British Got Talent, and where that guy was being ridiculed and the greatest amount of complaints from the
Is it Ashley Banjo, I think his name?
yes, and then the bit with Sainsbury, with the family in with the family around the table there, the black family, and people in arms to say it didn't represent the UK. And then you also had the Tesco, which got spooked and did not want to show the black family. And then all of a sudden, I'm seeing commercials and I'm seeing front page with black doctors, you know, saying this is a great thing. This is a great game changer. I'll show the image. You also show again as well a black lady taking the vaccine. It's like sending a subliminal message through to say this is okay, and we're gonna get you no matter what. You're on the front line.
Well,
I don't know.
I say two things. I say two things on that. One is the image that you mentioned there about how black people are perceived. And, you know, I was very critical in the beginning when we had the pandemic and we had all the nurses come out and they were clapping for all the medical professions and everything like that. And what we saw was everybody, the images were all white. There wasn't any black professionals in it. And I kind of felt, well, there's a lot of professionals come here under the Windrush generation, and it would have been nice to actually see them being portrayed, doing their part. And I thought that was a miss from the NHS and from the government when they were doing that at the time. And come now it's we've had the Black Lives Matter movement. We have all the criticisms and uproar around how black people are being represented, and now, we've had also the talk around, black individuals not, being first in line or more likely to get the COVID, could get for COVID. So the way I thought about it, now you have, it's a situation where the government, you might want to put it that way, wants to present a subtle message to entice black people to put themselves forward. It's kind of a conundrum, because in some ways you can't really be too critical, because that is something that we wanted to see, more black people being presented on frontline images that show that we have taken part, i.e. the doctors, the nurses, the care workers, the bus drivers, all of these people that weren't really being portrayed and given the image in in the beginning, but now when the vaccination is coming out, you see more black people, and so in some ways you can't really criticize. I don't know. It's quite interesting take, I suppose.
Someone said there, of course, the poison would be easier to be administered by a familiar face. So some have been calling it poison, David. And you can't blame people for saying what they want. Now, Michelle Clark said, Magdalene said, can David let us know when he's going to take it and when he actually took it? I mean, that's a private thing, David, but it's up to you right there. And
I'll give my answers once you go through the comments, but keep going.
Yeah, and for David, are there a specific reason why we start with the elderly?
Oh, Lord.
I think there's another one as well.
Yeah.
Next one.
So first of all, I think that we'll go back to the elderly. I think whenever you have something, and I'm not going to call this the flu because it's not, but you've got the flu vaccinations that's out there. Again, it's given to those who are most vulnerable, and I can't say any more than those people who have been deemed vulnerable will be first up for having this particular vaccination, and that's for obvious reasons. They're at the most risk, and so if you're passing away more frequently because you have the condition, then you're going to be getting access to the vaccination. So that's the first thing. And I use the flu vaccination just there because historically we've had the flu vaccination. We've had that year on year for many a number of years. And so that's where the idea you could draw reference to of most recent nature. So that's why it's been rolled out to people who are in care homes. That's why it's looking at the people who are most vulnerable. And the older you are, unfortunately, with this particular condition, the more likely you are to unfortunately succumb to it, amongst other factors as well. In regards to my personal preferences of taking drugs, I don't think that should really be aired in open arenas. But I'm happy to share my experience of taking drugs in the hospital, if that's what you really would like. But I think the best thing for people to understand is that this vaccination is available. You should weigh up the risks and benefits to yourself and make that judgment call as to whether or not you would like to take it or not. I think that there has been an inference that we should take the vaccine for obvious reasons, especially if you're at risk, but you make that judgment call. I don't think that this is something that is going to be forced upon people. That's my personal viewpoint. I don't think it will be. But at the same time, we've got to make that judgment call. All right. I think that there's an interesting comment. I'm sorry to pick up on it, but an interesting comment regarding China. I don't know if you want to just put that one up there. And they didn't develop a vaccine. That is categorically false. They have created a vaccine, and they're shipping it to other neighboring countries. And so I don't quite understand what is meant or referenced with regards to the vaccination in China. They've got a vaccine out there, and it's being utilized.
But David, if they had a vaccine over there, why don't we couldn't we just copy what they've got?
Well, that's a very good point, isn't it? I think that the idea of vaccinations is that you would like to share that information, and you like to essentially have everybody have it all encompassing for all nations. But what we've seen is that whilst there has been the sharing of information in regards to a potential aim, which is trying to get a vaccination, each individual country or the leading countries have tried to get ahead of the game. And at the end of the day, partnerships are built on trust. Partnerships are built on legacies, and the drug companies that have put together their packages of proposed drugs have worked with the organizations and governments previously. So I think that's probably what it boils down to. I'm not going to sit here and speculate as to why we're not using a Chinese vaccine as opposed to the Pfizer vaccine or Oxford vaccine or otherwise. I think it is what it is. And the thing to really take out from that is that you have to mass produce this thing, and to rely on one nation to mass produce it would and that's not what you're inferring there. You're talking about sharing information, but to rely on one country to mass produce it would be quite difficult. And I think it's again a testament to the fact that you've got leading scientists up and around the world being able to put together a strategy of really attacking a core subject which has affected the world over in trying to deliver this vaccine in a timely manner.
Michelle Clark said further, I just want to put up, they know exactly what they're doing, and they want to exclude us. They have an agenda. Why is it that why would we say that? I'll leave this one up. And this why would we say, or why is there this perception that there's an agenda?
I think it's partly, and I can't speak for Michelle there, but I think that partly part of this will boil down to a worry about the vaccination, and it's a worry that should be really recognised. You will have tidbits of information that you can grasp to, and you grasp onto that information, and some of it will be true and some of it would be false. And that's why I said I'm happy to be fact checked. I think everybody should be fact checked in this regard. And with regards to sort of the agenda issue, people are fearful, people are worried. We've had 9 months or 10 months of being locked down, and now we're being told that having a vaccination is something that is imperative for us to exit. And I think that worry is going to affect people, and it can come as a bit of a shock. And I think we should understand and appreciate that, and convey answers to the questions that people will have. If you can't do that on a level, then I don't think you're going to get wholeheartedly people on board. You can't force things on people. It's not going to work. The more resistance and pushback you're going to have. What we need to do is answer questions in a logical, in a sensible, and with all of the facts laid on the table, and for people then to make the decision about their health.
Keisha, what do you think about what David just said a while ago, whereby it's not going to be forcing you? The government is also saying not going to be forcing you, but you got these companies, airlines are also saying that if you don't take the vaccine or they're alluding to it, because of course there's going to be all the human rights implication. They're saying if you don't take it, you can't travel, you can't go to the supermarket, you can't do this, you can't do that. So it's coming like through the back door.
Yeah. I agree completely, and I think this goes or ties in well with Michelle's point. I think there's a sense of skepticism happening at the moment. It's interesting that after 9 months, as David said, we now have a vaccine that has now been rolled out, and then we're told that based on some of these companies, in order for you to come to a certain event or show, you have to take the vaccine. So even though they're saying it's not mandatory, you really have no choice but to take it. And so therefore you're saying that in order for you to get on with your life, in order for you to get back to what you know as normal, you have to take the vaccine. And that's why people are questioning this thing. People shouldn't be finding themselves in a situation where if they don't take the vaccine, they can't go to certain clubs or events or even travel. Why is it suddenly this is an issue? Where did this come from? Why haven't the governments actually said, it's not mandatory, and if you don't want, if these companies are saying these things, but that's not what the government is trying to is saying, it's completely different. But they haven't come out and say that. As far as they're concerned, they are pushing forth an agenda, as Michelle said, that we really don't have much of a choice but to take it if we want to get back to our normal lives.
Are we walking towards a zombie land? Sorry, I'm just throwing that one out there.
We're being conditioned. I don't know. Maybe you could call it zombie. I think to an extent it is probably zombie land. The bottom line is we are being conditioned to function a certain way. We are being conditioned to say that or to think that, without the vaccine, we cannot progress. We cannot, I think I've been very good. And I think that, Santa should be giving me a present this year because I've stayed at home, and I've done what the government had asked me to do. And suddenly I'm told now that if I don't take the vaccine, whenever it's rolled out, then I can't go to see my, my favorite show or go to a cricket or concert, or you can't even travel and go to certain places.
You see, David.
That was not what that was. I signed up for from the outset. Yeah. I was told to wear my mask and stay indoors, and then suddenly you say, "No, I have to wear it." Not have to, but if you don't wear it, but you can't do this.
I think the thing about it is that people, I believe, are somewhat feeling like they're being hoodwinked. How could a natural people be healed by an unnatural element? And someone sent me a message today from Jamaica: divide and rule, medical terrorism, authoritarianism, using the threat to the health of the general population as a factor by which a catalyst to effect this. Fear and ignorance is the greatest threat to the people's ability to resist and overcome the diabolical, pathological kind of white-scale dominance in the words of Howard Payne, author of the book. And he went further and said, we cannot continue to allow aliens to and of humanity with their bat viruses. They're bovine viruses, they're primate viruses to continue to tell us that we are sick, that we are infected, when in reality they are the ones playing with monkeys and bats and cows, matter, poo, and whatever else in laboratories, isolating and weaponizing bacteria, viruses.
Just like David's face.
Over to you, David.
These operations these operations conduct in secret. But as I said, the level of censorship and disinformation by the medical front is quite pleasant morning to you all out. Yeah. David, you got to come forward because
Wake up, David. We need to hear your response on this.
Michelle just agreed to what that gentleman said. I went to school with him in Jamaica. He doesn't comment that much because most time he's censored and going to jail, and you can see why, Michelle Clark, that's exactly what they're doing. Michelle Clark said, right now there's a bill that they're trying to pass undercover the B23-171. Veto the bill. Listen, I'm telling you what I'm thinking, and I know David is gone to sleep for a second, and he's going to wake up back. I call his wife, but listen, as I mentioned, call his wife. Is he come back? The thing I have been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this very much, and I'm glad my foxes are in the back garden digging some holes, because I'm going to start to watch some of these zombie movies to find that resistance. The resistance, how they do these underground things. Because honestly speaking, based on how I see this thing happening, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, there's going to be a resistance. There's going to be a movement whereby people are saying you can't do this unless you have vaccines. You're going to have a certificate, and people are going to have underground certificates unless they're verified from the source. And I don't like how it's going in a way, because if, and this is what they're saying, not everybody, and I say it is 90% of the people or 80%. Am I correct? Somebody can correct me. 80% of the people who have COVID get better. Is that correct?
So 80% of people who get COVID are asymptomatic with the symptoms, so they wouldn't know that they have it otherwise. I think the sort of the conspiracy aspect to this, I can't really comment on. I can't do credence.
Yes,
David.
I don't think you I mean,
yeah, I just don't, I think it needs to be moved on swiftly.
That's
why I came back.
I was bringing everything to the table.
Yeah, let's bring everything.
I think what we need to do, I keep reiterating, is have people speak on the facts. When we go to a mechanic, I don't speculate that the tires are not quite right. I ask questions about the tires, and I say, is the tire thread okay? And why is it okay? Can I get a new pair? Do I need a new pair of tires, etc., etc.? I'm not saying you shouldn't, and in the same essence, what I'm saying is you challenge, you ask questions, but it's for professionals to make the inference on whatever it is that you are trying to get information about, and that's regarding health. That's regarding going to a mechanic. When you go to a dentist and there's a tooth that needs to be pulled out, we don't particularly say, well, can you pull out the tooth that's opposite to the tooth that's got infection? I just don't quite get it. So I think I know it's a difficult time that we're in, and it's obviously time for us to speculate on things, and that's perfectly fine to have that inner question to challenge and to question. But at the same time, we've got to think about the realities of life at this moment in time. The realities are that we're having lockdowns. We've just come out of a lockdown, thankfully, and there is a potential exit strategy. What is it that people want? I think it boils down to, what is it that people really want in regards to life going forward? And I think, if you don't want to take the vaccine, I'm not going to sit here and say every person in this world should take the vaccine. That would be wrong of me to do. You've got to make that choice yourself. But at the same time, the vaccine is going to be available. And in the UK, it's afforded to you free of charge. So it's your choice. You make the reason's choice, but the vaccine has been deemed to be safe by the Medicines and Health Regulating Agency in the UK. And that's just the facts. I'm just displaying the facts. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just displaying the facts.
There's a doctor that I follow in the States, and she said, I'm going to destroy 7 myths today. And one of the myths she said she destroyed is that it won't give you HIV. And, many things are going on, and she say, blah, 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 blah. And then somebody just wrote in, I think it was me, I simply said, with all due respect, doctor, you don't know Jack until 5 years' time. Until 5-7 years' time. David, I think that's a fair statement I just made, I know those guys, the intention is that it will be great.
But
really
Sylbourne,
should be.
But the point I've made earlier, Sylbourne, was that you're going to have novel technologies, novel devices, novel things that come up in regards to health, and when those things come into fruition, there's going to be uptake of them, and yes, some of those things will lie by the wayside, and I'm making this point just to say that this is novel because of it's a novel virus, so it's not unique in that sense. There are surgical techniques that we utilize that are deemed to be proven safe, and we utilize them as a first one off. There will be a first patient that has a particular first drug after it's been proven safe and effective. And that's just the manner of the way that medicine evolves. And if it doesn't evolve, we stand still, and people ask the question, well, why can't we cure this particular type of cancer, or why can't we treat this particular type of diabetes more effectively? We're caught between a rock and a hard place in this regard. We really want to try and get out of this in a safe and effective manner. Vaccination has always been on the agenda of trying to achieve that goal, and now that it's here, we are all due the respect to sort of question it and judge the facts accordingly, listen to the health experts in that regard, and then move forward.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's one thing which is correct though. People are tired. People are frustrated. People really want to move on, and I believe that is when the not getting into a negative thing, but it's when you break a horse. You break a horse to the point where the horse has lost his will to fight anymore, and he's just happy to put this thing around his neck,
yes,
just to be led and just have a blinkers on.
they're spot on.
And that is what I
yeah.
fear. That is what I fear. What's that?
That's my cat. Sorry.
Your cat. Okay, so your cat is even agreeing with the wolf. Now, he's very smart. They say sometimes animals actually displace certain things. Let's find a
You heard you say horse. That's what it was.
Or yeah, but yeah. So
she.
I think it's very important that people really keep a focus on this whole thing, because I draw the line like this. This is just me personally, and you can see I'm very intimately thinking about this whole thing. Putting something in my body, that's the thing I'm more concerned about. And they say it will affect your DNA and changing things and all those sort of things there.
No.
You won't change your DNA?
No.
Okay, well, there you go. Now, when David says that, you've got to take it. Michelle, you've got to take that because David is a guy. Don't come out and say things very forceful.
You're not going to change. You're not going to change into a horse. If that's what you're asking. You're changing your DNA.
But anyway, in wrapping up on that bit there, what's your last word on that? Because what we have to set the stage. We're going to see people talking about the anti-resistance, and people are going to be going for it. Do you think, in a way, that Black people are being targeted, or is it just because Black people have not been putting themselves forward to be tested and to be a part of this bigger picture?
I think it's a bit of both. I think you can't argue for the fact that there are not representation of Black people in an advert, and then say at the same time because there's an overrepresentation in regards to the vaccine. I think you target the groups that you feel will need to understand the message, and I don't think we should really be arguing about the fact that there's an overrepresentation. If you want to listen to that message, then you listen to it. If you don't, you turn off. But the fact is, it's got to speak to the people that it needs to speak to. And if the uptake is going to be higher in a population of people, then why do you target that population of people that's it's already higher in? You can, but I'm just saying it probably doesn't make sense. The message has already been sold. You're reiterating a message. I think it's the message from me personally, David Burton, as opposed to the doctor with the doctor hat off, is that there's an availability of a vaccine that is free within the UK that's judged to be safe and effective.
Yeah.
That's the message.
Okay. So therefore we need some, and I'll just wrap up this point here with what Michelle Clark has said. Think about it is that the society we live in is so evil that them developing vaccine not with the intention of cure. It's all about.
You're missing a word in there, but we're okay.
Yes. So people are, and as you rightly said, David, people are allowed to really, go through and to dissect this whole thing. But I want to just move on quickly before we wrap up. And is that I don't know if you heard about that. There's a plane that went to Jamaica just a couple of days ago, deported to Jamaica. Was the timing right? I understand there was 36 people on the plane, and I think through the mediation and negotiations and lawyers coming into play, only 13 actually went down to Jamaica. What do you think about deportation at this time? I mean, COVID. You think
13? Is it 13 you said went down?
13 eventually
Yes.
went down?
Yeah.
36, yes.
Okay. So when it comes to deportation, I think I have quite a lot to say on the matter. But in this time, the timing is just not right. As you could say, you know, we're in a pandemic at the moment. People should just stay put. And I don't understand why, you know, Priti Patel is in a hurry to be deporting people at this time. You know, there's no reason to delay. There's no reason why she couldn't delay this until, you know, next year sometimes when everything's settled down. So the timing is absolutely questionable. Generally speaking, when it comes to deportation, I think that, you know, my understanding is these individuals had a criminal background. Okay, so the issue that we have is the law says, the Immigration Act says, if you have a conviction that is, you know, constitute to a custodial sentence, I believe over 6 months, then you're subject to deportation if you don't have your legal status. So that is the problem that we have here. Those people on the plane, they have committed a criminal offense in this country, serious enough that the immigration office thinks it's sufficient to actually deport them based on the law itself. The question then we need to ask is, because obviously all of these people are surrounded by family, so they have family members, they already established their family life. There therefore need to be a balance, which of course the Home Office and or the Immigration Office has to weigh up. Does the offense overrides or outweigh the requirement of, you know, from the family life or family stability? And you have to measure that against two other limbs, which is of course national security or in the public interest. So the question you'll ask is it in the public interest to send this person back to, you know, a foreign country because, you know, the type of offense they have committed, or is it in the based on national security? So you're looking at like high level crime, like terrorism, for example. In the interest of national security, we need to deport you. So those are the things that they have to weigh up. Normally, usually, my understanding is family life generally overrides all these other, you know, factors. So I am actually surprised that a lot of those people actually found themselves in a situation, and bear in mind, I am not an immigration lawyer, but having looked at and read up on the Immigration Act, I'm surprised that they've got that far on the flight when clearly a lot of them actually do have strong family life set up here in this country already. And I think what we need to do is begin to encourage people to have good lawyers from the outset. The moment that you find that you're in a situation where you need to get you regularized or nationalized, or, you know, you need to become legal in a country, you need to instruct a solicitor from the outset.
Yeah.
You don't wait until you get yourself, you know, those random stop and search by the police and they find out that you're not legal, and then they actually decide they detain you, or you commit an offense and you never got around to sort out your affairs, and then because you're in custody, suddenly they say, by the way, you're going to be shipped off to the detention center. And so we have to encourage our people to get their house in order as soon as they realize that there's a problem with themselves, with their situation. So that's it for me.
This is what the Home Office. This is what the Home Office Chris Phillips said, and he made a point here, and it alludes to what you're saying there. I guess he will not be happy with what you said a while ago about getting lawyers. He said, Home Office Minister Chris Phillips, who confirmed that the flight had left, said it's disappointing that specialist immigration law firms continue to use last-minute tactics to remove a significant number of offenders from his flight. These individuals had every opportunity to raise the claims in the days and weeks leading up to the flight. However, a significant number of claims were not submitted until hours before the flight was due to leave, meaning murderers and rapists have been able to stay in the UK, right? So the Home Office Minister, or Home Secretary, Priti Patel, in a response to, I think it was Clive Lewis or Lammy or someone, or Dave Lammy, said, I have this duty and this responsibility to follow the rules. I think we can't blame her for that.
Yes.
So am I right, David?
Correct. I
agree. I mean, because the thing is, the problem that we have is she and the Home Office look at the law for what it is, black and white. That's it. Okay, they've separated or taken away anything to do with the emotion around anything. So they won't consider family life, even though the law clearly says you have to. These are the things you have to weigh up, you have to measure. They're not interested in whether you have a child on the way, you have children, and you just been married. They don't care about all that part. All they're interested in is it national security issue or public matter, or in the public interest to deport you. That's their interest. That is why I don't really agree with what Clive said, because as an individual, you have a right, and it is you do, especially if you have a family, to instruct a lawyer at any stage that you realize that you need that type of help. So even if, and that's one of the things, even if they tell you at the airport that they're about to deport you, and you do not have a lawyer, instead of signing any document to say, okay, you're accepting a deportation, or you're giving them any information, you say, first and foremost, I need to get a lawyer to put an injunction on the matter. That's what you need to do. So a lot of the times we find ourselves, or at least people find themselves in a situation where it's only at the last minute they realize that they need help, or they actually decide to get help. A lot of the times they feel, oh, well, because I'm living in this country for a long time, I have a right to stay here. It doesn't work like that, because the Home Office follow just the law itself. And you have a responsibility, because we are living in a compliance culture. I keep saying that. I've said that so many times on the show. We're living in a compliance culture. So if you go to the hospital, you have to have your documents. They want the question, do you have an NHS number? Anything you're doing these days, you need documents. The other day, at work, they said to you, HR asks you a question, send an email out generally to say, everybody who in Europe, because I think because of change of Brexit, if you're not from the UK, you need proof that you plan to settle here or whatever the changes require. So I'm trying to say that we as a people, black community, we can't just assume that because we were born and raised here, or without, I know our parents haven't gotten around to actually settle us, or you live here all your life and you have your children, but you haven't gotten around to sort their lives out, that the government is going to have sympathy for you. It does not work like that. You have to have your documents. So therefore, that's how it works.
So therefore, what you're saying is that people have to be proactive.
Absolutely.
And it links a bit to the Windrush, hence the reason why the opposition to it by Zeta, Lee Jarrett, and the campaign group is that until the Windrush bit has been sorted, they shouldn't be and holding back on these things unless some cases are overwhelming. Any last word on that?
Well, for me, there's few things. One of the things I was really annoyed about was when the whole deportation report came out, was the fact that some of the individuals that were going to be on the flight came here as children, and obviously some of them were under 12, and of course their parents brought them here, so they don't know any other life outside the United Kingdom. And I think Priti Patel was going to go against the recommendation from the Windrush report, which was that children who came here should actually have a right. And in the last minute, she changed her mind on that and allowed some of those individuals. That's why some people, not all of them, that was the 35, some of them were allowed to stay here, because in the last minute, they made that decision to do that. I think that was the right thing to do. I don't think she should have been pressured to do that. I think it's just common sense, because, of course, anybody who knows any little thing around immigration rules and law is that a child, once you're in this country at the age of 7, up until the age of 7, I believe, then you should be able to have the right to remain in this country anyway. And so you could take some common sense out of nonsense, in my view. And I think that would to do that in the first place, I think what Priti Patel and the Home Office was trying to do is push boundaries and then hope that nobody will see. And to me, that sort of behavior is unacceptable. And I was feeling, I felt really aggrieved by that. And I'm so pleased that they come to terms with that and decided to correct that before it actually did happen. The other part of it is the law and order and the perception of law and order in this country. Priti Patel and the Conservative government is perceived, and the strong point is law and order, criminality. And she came out and she was big and bold, and she said, "I will make no apology for deporting criminals and serious criminals from this country." Which, to be honest, anybody, any reasonable person would agree that if you're a serious criminal and you do not have the right to be in this country, you should not be here. However, where you have individuals who have some rights, because if they didn't, those lawyers wouldn't have been pressuring, they wouldn't be fighting these cases. Did you know what I mean? If there wasn't a case to fight for in the first place, they wouldn't have been doing that. And I think what's been happening in the past is that there's been pressured. People don't have enough time on the people last minute and they've been deported without getting the right representation. I think we need to come to terms. People have rights. They should go through the legal due process. And if, of course, they failed all those processes, then, of course, the Home Office could deport them. But other than that, they shouldn't be pushed to and deported without going through or follow the due process.
Yes. No problem. And David, if you wrap up with that last, with your take on that briefly.
Yeah, very briefly. The law in this case has been looked at as black.
Sorry.
So I'll just repeat it. It said that the law looks at this particular topic as black and white, rather than looking at the individual. And so this is what will happen. I don't know that from my experience that the common sense kind of comes into things. It really is about legalities and the black text on the white background. That's essentially how it's looked at. But the individual, I think, needs to be scrutinized in a greater depth in order to make the assessment. And to carte blanche everybody, I guess is probably not the right thing to do. And obviously, in this case, it's proved to the benefit of those people who've been able to stay in this country. But we've got to also remember that crimes have been committed, and those crimes, there's got to be a justification of punishment of some sort to those crimes that have been committed, but also a pattern to rehabilitation of these offenders, because you can sometimes right the wrongs. It's difficult pills for families and relatives who have lost loved ones because of crimes that have been committed. But I think in righting those wrongs, you can come to a realization that you can be possibly a member of society again, depending on the crime, obviously, that's been committed.
I must say it is indeed a challenging time. People are social distancing from their families. People don't want to go to their families because they worry about their families and the health implications if they have something and they bring it, and also if they go to their families and they pick up something as well. So people are struggling a lot at this time with the advent of COVID, and then people are struggling now with the whole aspect of deportation, whereby I don't think even because of how the court system is now, lawyers are not even actually having one-to-one, face-to-face with their clients to really go through the whole process properly again. And that's the other challenging thing as well. I was in a court hearing the other day, and without saying what it is, when we agreed the order before the judge and the lawyer who was there representing one of the clients, the client actually burst out during the in the course of the hearing and said to the judge, my understanding of XYZ was XYZ. And I'm like, oops. A few of us said, oops, please shut this case down now, because if she starts, she's going to go all the way around. So the point about it is that it is like the lack of that direct interface is going to have this effect on clients, and clients are not going to be properly represented at this time, because everything is by Zoom, everything is not by face to face. And that's one of the things. But ladies and gentlemen, sorry, you're going to say something quickly?
No, and I said that's why it's so questionable with the timing as well. So it's a lot of times when people are saying it's, the Home Secretary was saying that it's, all these lefty lawyers are criticizing challenging these judgments. People really getting the opportunity to sit down with their lawyers and really go through these cases, and I think to just deport people without that is in itself, I think, is not following due process, and I don't think it's fair in itself to do that.
Yeah. Well, guys, I want to wrap up. And Michelle Clark just said, I'm not from the UK, but I believe if you have kids that has lived the majority of their lives in a country, should not be deported back to the country of their birth. But I have a look at view as well, and this view is controversial. I think anybody from a particular country, like an island, like Jamaica or so, should not find themselves in a position where they find it difficult or don't want to go back to them yard. You know what I mean? That's just me personally say that. I'm from Ocherius, Jamaica. And listen, if the Queen is saying, Sylbourne, it's time to go, I said, baby, kids, let's wrap up now. We're going to Ocherius right away. I'm saying, I just think that
there are worse places in the world to go to, I think.
I'm sorry?
I said there are worse places in the world to go to.
Yeah, worse places in the world to go to, you know?
Yeah.
Keima, we're going to wrap up now, yeah? And thank you for checking out and making sure everything is okay outside and come back in to report say everything's all right. Everything cool? Yeah, Keisha? Okay, she can't. Don't worry. Stay there and be pretty. Don't worry. Stay right there. Stay right there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I wrap up here, I just want to send you something. Remember to like and subscribe to the show. But tomorrow night I have on my show I've got these young people here. Nicole, Leon, who's a former guest, Mikey, and Makoda, talking about mental health and the various approaches, well-being, mental health, and it's time to talk. So they're going to come on tomorrow night at 9 o'clock on Youth Connections, because as you know, I've been talking a lot about the whole mental health factor, which is affecting a lot of people. So these are young people, all in their 20s. So I'm actually in good company because, as you know, I'm just pushing 20, and so they'll be coming on in the tomorrow evening, and then at the same time, while they're coming on, I'm going to also be linking with my former high school in Jamaica, which is the York Castle High School. And York Castle High School have this fundraising event, and I'm just going to play a clip of it so you can tune in tomorrow and contribute to this event. And here we go, if I can find it.
Immaculate. Bless love, this is Kabaka Pyramid. I don't know, it's all about the Yorkist Alumni Virtual Party, December 4th. Seeing? All proceeds going towards the school, you know. And the youth them are the future. So make sure they have them donate. You know what I mean? Check out the virtual party. I will be performing alongside Young Pow. You don't know. Keep it locked. December 4th, virtual party. Yorkist, big up on yourself every time. Accurate.
Young Pow is a long time. The people them know you're not truth. No one is a strong mind. You are fear to revolute. Eh, I mean say what a situation. Boy, man a chant for liberation. Boy, every man have them own a right for have a piece of land. Make we agree no man. I mean say what a situation. I hit a mash of this nation. Man a turn refugee in a them own land. Can't even afford for own land. West Kibbly bang bang. No pity in a Kingston city for the poor and the destitute. Yeah, them so wicked.
So therefore, that is tomorrow night, and you can tune in. She dancing already. She can't hear anything, but she can't speak, but she can dance. You can't speak, right, Keisha? Don't worry. You can lip sync. Something like that.
Lip sync.
Break dance. So tomorrow night, that is going to happen. So guys, and also this is all because of the lack of facilities for a lot of students or children from impoverished areas, because of course Wi-Fi. Some students don't have Wi-Fi, and schools in Jamaica are not really going very great. So a lot of it is needed by the laptops, the tablets. So therefore, I'm contributing. That's my high school, and I think it's $20 or so. I put the details up and the website is up there where people can actually donate as well. $20, and you get into the party, a big party tomorrow night. And I think I'll be live streaming with them from 8:30 Jamaica time, which would be 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 1:30 UK time in the morning. So we want to stay up late for the party. Join me. and I'll be with the Jamaica Road Scholar, the one who recently is going to come to the UK next year. He's gonna join me tomorrow night as well, tomorrow morning, as we listen to the party. All right. Any last word, guys, before we go? Bravo.
Again, I'll just drink my coffee, guys. We've not really touched on the real topic of today, so I'll just drink my coffee.
Yes, I know we're missing something, isn't it?
Tastes good.
David got his coffee. You know that he got his coffee. And I did the video. I don't know if you guys actually saw it, but we did the video for David, whereby David actually came on, and I don't know if I have it. I
But
don't,
he accepted his coffee, his virtual coffee.
It was a good cup, but it's a cup that keeps on coming. You know, it's an eternal cup
Is
of
that what you call
coffee.
it? Is it Blue Mountain coffee? The one in Jamaica was.
okay, so you see, David got his coffee. All right.
Thank you very much again.
All right. Okay, guys. All right. Well, listen, have a good night. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. Those on Instagram, those on Facebook as well. We just always have a party and just enjoy ourselves. You know, that's what life is about. And see you around. 71 minutes we stayed. That was 10 minutes late, guys. Anyway, what can I say? That was Keima, Keisha, and David. Yeah.